You're watching or listening to Strangers in Space, and in this edition, we are going to be revealing the results of our first Doctor poll, so you don't have to. Hi, I'm JR.
I'm Ian.
Hi, I'm John.
Hi, I'm Matt.
Brilliant. Okay, so we have done these seasons as polls before, the first 4 seasons, or the first 3 and a bit seasons, in, as it transpires, May, July, and August of 2020 and October of 2021 was when we did these polls originally. And what I have done is I have also made a list of where these landed in the original polls and where they've landed corresponding with the other stories in their seasons in this poll, just so we can see which ones are more and which ones are less popular than they were 5 or 6 years ago.
We're sticking our dipsticks into the public consciousness to see where these stories lie.
Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
I'm so glad you said that, and I didn't, Matt. One story from the entire first Doctor era got no points at all. Nobody voted for this in their top 10. Only one. I mean, for quite a while, I was putting the votes in. There were about 4 stories that was true of. And as the last few votes came in, 3 of them got knocked off the list as they got votes, but 1, nothing at all. Would anybody like to try and guess?
Sensorites?
No, not edges.
Savages?
No,
Smugglers?
Okay, you've had your votes. You've all hit the post. It was none of those things. I'll reveal it in a second. We've only got 3 listeners' comments, and I'm going to do those now because they're all about, or some of them are about how the vote was for them as opposed to the results, obviously. Jack Coyer just says the preference revealer was an interesting way of revealing some hidden feelings about some secret favourites. Because the point about the preference revealer is it reveals some stories that you didn't necessarily realise you liked as much or liked as little will be finding themselves further up or further down your personal results.
It's like Tinder, but for Doctor Who stories.
Swipe right on the Sensorites. Swipe left on the web planet.
Tristan Alfaro says he expects some of his voting is strongly influenced by memories of the Target books. And of course, that's going to be the case for all the first few Doctors, really. Luke Hammond says the received wisdom I picked up when getting into fandom was that the first Doctor's era was worthy but dull, with Hartnell himself stern and tetchy. That's true, actually, isn't it? I think, certainly when I was growing up, the Hartnell era was kind of meant to be a bit of a chore to get through before Doctor Who became Doctor Who with the second Doctor, I think. But Luke goes on and says, but it was a delight to watch a lot of these stories and see his whimsical portrayal with a twinkle in the eye and how inventive and funny a lot of the era is, which is certainly true when you actually get to see it. Right, we're slightly against the clock, so I'm going to race us through these, and Matt's going to do everything in his power to make sure that doesn't happen. But the story that got 0% of the vote, and as always, what I did was calculate how many votes each story got against how many votes it could possibly get, and give that as a percentage. With 0% of the vote, the Space Museum.
Oh, okay.
Outrageous. Surely at least that first episode should have something, and that's something that gets you through.
It loses so many points of those eyebrows that it makes sense to me. I feel that. Yeah.
But I think, John, it's a case of the story as a whole is not well thought of enough that anybody would have it in their top 10.
It's like it might be an 11th or 12th at best. Yeah, I can see that.
Right, the other 28 stories did get points, and in 28th place on 0.5%, The Savages.
Yay.
So,
well, I mean, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
What sort of name is Exhaust?
Didn't I do the Savages Did I do the Savages on your podcast, Ian?
You might have done.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. It was the Savages. I've blanked it. Very expensive therapy.
At the time.
Oh, there's a shock.
It's kind of bland, isn't it? I think the only thing it really has is Freddie Gage's kind of impersonation of Hartnell, which is great.
Yeah.
The Savages, so I'm only going to bring this up if they've moved somewhat, but The Savages has actually fallen 2 places in its season since we did the third series poll 6 years ago.
Don't get animated, kids. That's all.
Well, this is it. Well, this is going to become a recurrent theme. The animated stories have either done slightly, a lot of those are the ones that have moved, and sometimes not always for the best, but we'll see. Galaxy 4 is next up in 27th place on 0.8%. And that's not fallen from where it was before, but it's still very low. And animation hasn't done it any favors, right?
Neither is that episode being returned by the sound. I think it might have gone up after that episode was returned because, you got stuff like the Stephanie Bidmead's monologue to the camera, which is
we already had that, didn't we?
Yeah, but that's what's up. And now you've had the animation, the full story. It's a thin story. It really is. There's not much to it.
Right. Celestial Toymaker goes up a couple of places in its season because originally this was bottom of its season, but we're still in season 3 here. We've had 3 in a row from season 3. The Celestial Toymaker is on 1% of the vote in 26th place. I'm actually surprised because that was a very divisive animation, wasn't it?
I haven't got through the animation yet.
Have you not?
I've got 5 minutes through, and I'm working on it. But I'm for once, I'm on Ian Levine's side.
It is the worst thing that's ever been made for any TV show ever, isn't it? I mean, it is just dire.
The animation does.
I mean, are you talking about the animation, or you actually?
Yeah, I can't.
Hang on, John wants to defend it.
Yeah, it gives it a kind of an.
I've got to do my joke.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Sorry,
hang on.
JR's doing his joke.
I just want to know.
In half an hour, he'll explain it as well.
Yes, yeah.
When Ian says it's the worst thing that's ever been made for any television program, I want to know if he's talking about the animation or the Celestial Toymaker itself.
Well, I was talking about the show itself, and I haven't seen the animation of Toymaker, but the animations I have seen, they don't tend to improve things for me.
John, what was your point?
I think this one does because it actually gives it a little bit more imagination. It's better than we're going to get from any of the footage from a 60s TV studio. It expands the story out a little.
Okay.
Right, next up in 25th place on 1.3%, The Censorites. Bottom in season 1, as it was before, as it still is now. And we reviewed it, and we all thought it was absolutely horrendous. So I don't think there's anything more to be said.
It was you and Dylan reviewing it, wasn't it? No wonder.
Was it just the two of us? Oh, yeah, we did that one in person, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. You did. We did the web plan. You said, "Oh no, we'll do it together." Oh, fine.
No, we didn't. Nobody else was prepared to watch it, so the two of us.
I'm always prepared to watch Censorites, but no, I'm a freak.
Dylan doesn't like television, so that's a little bit
that's
of an
true,
issue
yeah.
when Dylan talks about television.
He only likes Doctor Who if it's got Jodie Whittaker in it.
His entire career is based on a hatred of television and trying to undermine it in its dying days.
He only likes Doctor Who if it doesn't have the Doctor in it. That's the main thing.
Just him and Eric Saywood, really.
He's a misandrist. He can't stand the role.
In 24th place with 2.3%. I should point out the percentages are all going to be fairly low because they're spread around 30 stories as opposed to around 10 stories, which was the case when we did these polls before. But in 24th place on 2.3% of the vote, and this was on 0% of the vote until very late in the day, Mission to the Unknown. So lots of people voted Dalek Masterplan very highly and didn't give any votes at all to Mission to the Unknown. But I think that's why, isn't it?
Presumably Dylan voted for that because it doesn't have the Doctor in it.
I think
I don't have the individual votes in front of me, but as I recall, Dylan gave all of his votes to Mission to the Unknown.
Yeah, that's why it's up so high. You're right. It's a sabotage job again. Well done, Dylan.
Ian, did you want to say something about it?
I was just going to say that I think for most people it is part of Dalek's master plan. So
exactly,
I don't remember voting for it independently, and I probably didn't give it enough love when I did, because in my head it's covered off by master
This
plan.
is exactly it. If you love Dalek Master Plan, presumably you should also love this. But
yes. But this is part of Dalek Master Plan, so you're not.
Yeah. If you love Dalek Master Plan, voting for Dalek Master Plan means you're unconsciously voting for this as well, even if you're not voting for this. And then this suddenly pops up, you realise your mistake.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to waste a vote on something you've already voted for.
And that's why you should use the preference revealer.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a short story in a competition full of novels, isn't it, really?
It kind of is. Speaking of which, in 23rd place on 3.8%, The Rescue. I mean, this is the one that's fallen the furthest. This has fallen 3 places in a season of 8 stories. It's now the bottom story in season 2, whereas before it was 5th out of 8, which is, more or less halfway. So, and I don't know why, because
it's above the Space Museum.
Sorry. It's second to last. But do you know what I mean? It's near the bottom then. But still, it has fallen the furthest of any of the stories in this poll. And I find that odd because The Rescue is kind of one of those. I don't think that much of it, to be frank. I think it's rather slight. And I think the twist at the end is ridiculous.
It's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, exactly. But I've always thought the opinion of this from most people that it was a charming piece of basically fairly essential First Doctor. Whatever.
It feels like sorry, Iain, but it feels like the First Doctor era is most popular with the epic long stories. So Marco Polo, the Daleks Master Plan, the Daleks, and these two-parters they are filler even more than the Davison ones.
Well, I've got to tell you, and I suppose I should have teased this earlier, but I'll tease it now. The story that's won this poll is not any of the stories that won the season polls when we did them 6 years ago. We have a brand new winner for the First Doctor era, thanks to this poll. Oh, and we'll get there.
It's my excited noise.
But that would basically involve you being able to remember which 3 stories won the 3 polls previous. So, but we'll get there. Right, next up after The Rescue in 22nd place on 5.4%. So we're getting up slightly higher in the numbers now. The Edge of Destruction. I mean, it's very slight. I always thought, though, that this was better thought of because it's just the regulars. And so people have this sort of, it's just the regulars. And that means more Barbara per minute or whatever. But not enough
I think of it highly as a 2-part story, as a 2-part filler story. I think it's an effective filler story. But if I was voting between this and Marco Polo, I'd go with Marco Polo because there's more substance to it. Because it feels like a story. This doesn't feel like a story. It feels like a sort of an interlude.
Again, you're going, if it's your favourite, it's no one's favourite, is it? That's the thing.
Yeah. And it's my least favourite, apart from the Celestial Toymaker. So, and next is one of my favourites, sadly, as low as it is, at 21st place on 8.5%. The Reign of Terror. I love The Reign of Terror. I know it's relatively slight. I think it's a hell of a sort of travelogue adventure in sort of like 18th century France. I just really enjoy it, but it's come very low, frankly.
I'll get some lovely bits with that, the foreman on the road. That's great.
Yeah, I think the whole thing's great. All the stuff in the prison with the, the jail keeper. Anyway, in 20th place on 9%, Planet of Giants, which I think has some great moments, but is a story that's less than the sum of its parts.
It's the actual effects for what they're doing at the time are absolutely superb. It's a really well made story. But you're right. I think
really watch it at some point.
Again, it's inconsequential.
Yeah, they don't. As much as the writer tries, Louis Marks as well, of course, Day of the Daleks, he never quite manages to make the A plot and the B plot really come together. And he tries really hard to make it happen, but it never really feels like it really quite does.
It's kind of a different Britain, isn't it? With that, the phone exchange being the key to everything.
Yeah,
they've gotten away with it today.
Right, in 19th place, and as low as it is, this has moved up two places, which I think is in large part due to our review from about a year or so ago. The Web Planet on 9.5%.
Way too low.
Way too low.
Yeah. I mean, we admitted that it doesn't hold up in 2025 or whenever it was we were talking about it. But for 1965, it is an extraordinary accomplishment. Speaking of extraordinary accomplishments, in 18th place, I don't know why I did that segue because it really doesn't work. On 10%, The Ark.
It's got a lovely concept to it.
The Ark is pretty damn good. I would have been happy with that being a lot higher. I think it does a lot that the show's never done before, and it's quite innovative. And
I think there's two things about it that kind of hold it back for a lot of people. One is that it's a dodo story.
Yeah.
And so I think people just automatically think that that makes something somehow slightly worse. I think that's just a innate feeling that we have. And then the other thing is the politics of it are a bit suspect as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the British like that, don't they?
Well, suspect politics. Yes, of course.
Yes.
That's why it's so high. It's got the reform vote.
Right.
Perched in your ex-colony.
Right, the story that's 15th is exactly the halfway point in this poll, but there are two stories on joint 16th on 10.8%. So these are the two that just narrowly missed out on halfway. And I think they're both lovely, delightful, underrated stories that, for me, should have been in or near to the top 10. One is the Gunfighters and the other is the Smugglers.
Smugglers suggest that people haven't seen the light yet with the Smugglers.
Well, the Smuggler, I think, is one of those that is really kind of disregarded because the novelization isn't particularly highly thought of. There's no pictures. You've got a little bit of footage from the location film, but that's it. So there's people kind of don't tend to think of it. But I did it for the hamster thing, and I had fun with it. I think the performances are fantastic.
I feel like maybe a lot of people that come to science fiction aren't really on board with the historicals, which is why they're all faring so badly with the obvious forthcoming exception of Marco Polo. Maybe people just want more space monsters.
Yeah.
I think with the Smugglers, the reason why I'm imagining the Smugglers is great, just from the soundtrack and the photographs and whatever, is because it's based on Dr. Sin. And Dr. Sin is almost unfailingly a well-adapted concept. I haven't seen a version of Dr. Sin that hasn't been successful because you film in Cornwall, you set it around the church, you have vicars, dodgy vicars, and you have like secret passages.
Double agents and things.
That's all you need for a good Doctor Who story.
It's a bit like a whodunit in that as long as the elements are in place, you can't really fail to glue them together well. And I think I know there's that famous fluff, but we all know what it was supposed to be. And if you ignore the famous fluff that undermines the denouement of the story, I think it just hangs together as a story well told with an added frisson of, and three of the characters are from the future. And so it has this sort of internal comparison between now and then in the sort of commentary of the first couple of episodes. I love it. I think The Smugglers is great.
I think both of them are adapted from the kind of sources that were really kind of common on TV and film around then, but have really fallen out of fashion because the Gunfighters is kind of riffing on that Calamity Jane kind of western.
And and it's not really too much of a surprise to point out, but the straight historicals that have done well here are the ones that take themselves a little bit more seriously by John Lucarotti. We'll come to those when we get there, but for me, I much prefer these.
The Smugglers hasn't dropped out of public consciousness all that much because it's not that long since we had Poldark.
Oh yeah.
But that's not Dr. Sin, is it?
Poldark is. It's still Cornwall with smuggling.
It's not a million miles away.
Later seasons, it's not that far away.
Anyway,
it's got Aidan Turner topless. This hasn't.
Well,
William Hartnell's abs aren't quite as.
Well, we don't know. If we find it, we might discover. If we find it, we might discover Ben topless because nobody knew Patrick Troughton was going to get half naked in The Enemy of the World until it turned up, did they? No. In 15th place on 16.7%, having fallen 2 places, surprisingly, since the last time we did this vote, and exactly halfway up, it's The Crusade.
On historical.
16.7, did I say that? Yeah, it is. The historicals are kind of, a lot of them are sort of bunched up around the middle here. Because the historicals, weirdly, I think are better thought of amongst people who enjoy drama, but less well thought of amongst people who prefer conceptual Doctor Who.
Well, again, it was again when we grew up, these were the ones that were seen as quite dull, as the worst was even up to the Celebration where Jerry Bentham absolutely slagged the gunfighters off in that. It's historicals were seen as Doctor. People who watched Doctor Who originally, they were there for the science fiction.
Yeah.
So, as is reputation going that way again because it's kind of so different to almost the entirety of the rest of the show.
I think the animations are also probably people don't realize this, or it's probably not a conscious thought. But I think maybe the fact that the animations are concentrating on the sci-fi serials, and we haven't had a single historical serial yet, have we? Bar from those 2 episodes of the Reign of Terror. So maybe that's kind of making it feel like the historicals are slightly out of fashion again. Anyway, sticking with historicals, that was on 16.7%. Not sure if I said. On 19% in 14th place. And again, this has fallen a place from last time. The Massacre. Which I'm fairly surprised because The Massacre is one of the least represented. No telesnaps, barely any photos. So the only thing we've got really is the audio and the novel. And the novel is not a novel of the script. The novel's been sort of quite changed in order to get it. Yeah,
it's close to his original conception of it, isn't it? And added with the Doctor prologue with the Time Lords, if I remember right. And epilogue.
Well, yeah, but I think it changes. If I remember rightly, doesn't the novel change a fair bit of the story in order to make it work better?
Far more off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yes, it keeps going to sequences with the Doctor in that were never in the serial, if I remember rightly. And either way, it's fallen a place. And I think if it existed, it would probably be way higher. But it's odd that as so little of it really does exist, that it's as high as it is, really, given some of the stories.
It's done very well.
Yeah, but given some of the stories for which there is more, I mean, the Web Planet should be higher.
And the Gunfighters.
In 13th place, on 19.5%, everybody's least favourite Dalek story, The Chase.
That's not my least favourite Dalek story.
It's up 2 places from last time. This one's in the ascendancy.
It's quite fun. I don't mind it.
I think it's quite fun.
It's trying to do something different.
It's a Christmas panto for us. So.
Yeah. I think the thing with The Chase is everybody appreciates that it's not very good. But originally, everybody just appreciated that it's not very good. And now everybody says it's not very good, but I enjoy it. It seems you're allowed to enjoy The Chase again, right?
Terry Nation is Bob Baker and Dave Martin of the 60s. They have too much ambition for that studio.
True. But I think The Chase, a bit like the Web Planet, I think it manages to pretty much put the script up on the screen, pretty much as well as you could perhaps have expected it to be done, given that it's as live television to all intents and purposes. In 12th place, on 21.3%, The Mythmakers. This has gone down a place as well, actually.
Oh, outrageous. That's great. It
is outrageous. But again, it's the same conversation as we had with The Massacre. Stop yawning.
Very little of it. Very little representation, really, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's the problem.
I'm not a fan of Trojan stuff.
I can't wait to hear your review of the new Christopher Nolan film.
I'm not a fan of Greek stuff. It's not.
What about Dolmades?
Dolmades?
Yeah, the vine leaves stuffed with. Oh, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. No, I don't like those either. They've got rice in, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
It's just me extending the podcast, so it goes.
Halloumi?
Sorry.
How do you feel about halloumi?
Halloumi, love.
I like halloumi.
Yeah. Close enough.
In 11th place, just outside the top 10, and for a long time, this sort of there were 2 or 3 stories that were in and out of the top 10 like nobody's business, and this was one of them. On 22.8%, and this has dropped 2 places, which I find astonishing, frankly. An Unearthly Child. I think everybody agrees the first episode is immaculate. I think the other 3 episodes are too, frankly, but I've said it often enough. I think it's a great
They are
story.
so well directed. It's what Warris is saying gets in that last episode from cameras that aren't supposed to move like that is incredible.
I think if this poll had taken place after Trump had invaded Iran, An Unearthly Child would definitely be top 5 material, because let's face it, those characters are nothing if not, avatars for Trump and Khamenei, aren't they?
It's also, I think it's probably lost a couple of votes because people are giving it a kicking to annoy Steph Coburn, who seems to think he should be getting £1 million to let the BBC put it online again.
Yeah, maybe. What a load of arrant nonsense. Okay, we get to the top 10. And funny enough, by the way, we've got joint second place. So this poll's wide enough that there's only 2 joint places. The spread, apart from that, is but second place, absolutely neck and neck as runners up. And even the story that won, only won by a sliver above them. We'll get there. In 10th place, on 23.3%, having moved up 2 places. And when I say the name of this, you'll think, Jesus Christ, why have we not talked about that already? And how the hell did that manage to make it in the top 10? But once again, it's rubbish, but we're allowed to enjoy it now. The Keys of Marinus.
Hey!
I love the Keys of Marinus. It moves so fast. It is
so fast. Motion, it can't stand still. Moving. Sorry?
It's great. It's better than you're singing.
There's not an awful lot that isn't.
You've managed to lose Matt at last. You've been trying to do that for how many years?
Matt's run off. When he comes back, he'll tell us that he's been seen to the dog.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just going to let that sentence hang.
When he comes back looking slightly sweaty and short of breath,
he'll tell us
Yeah.
In 9th place on 25.1%. And this is from season 4, so it's basically in the same place as it was last time. As this podcast goes out a couple of weeks after we've recorded it, the probably now complete The 10th Planet.
It's way too high. It's not a great story.
It's a terrible story, but Derek Martinez is a great director, and I think he makes an absolute silk purse out of a sow's ear here.
And it has historical significance. And I think there's another story that's true of which we'll come to.
I've never enjoyed watching it, but what I don't know is whether that's purely because it's slow moving and a bit clunky, or because when I watch it, I know that episode 4 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to be watching 3 episodes and then that's it. And that really sort of sours your viewing experience, I think. So it'd be interesting to see, should it be returned intact, what my viewing experience would be for the whole thing.
But I definitely do think that it is, unlike that story we talked about earlier, it's better than the sum of its parts, because of what Derek Martinez brings to it. I think I don't know why Derek Martinez isn't spoken of in the same terms as, Doug Camfield, really, because I think all of his stories, he does Mission to the Unknown, lest we not forget, and Spearhead from Space. He's an amazing director, I think. He really manages to make television, as live television as well, at this point, look way better than has any right to. In 8th place on 29.2%. And again, this has gone up one, which is surprising since it's still completely all missing. Marco Polo.
See, Eddie, when he was doing his marathon last year, he actually listened to it first time. All of a sudden, he loved it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I went back and said, yeah, it's like marathon. It moves across so many locations. I think that's the key to it. It feels pacey, particularly for 60s television.
I've always found it just kind of recycles and repeats, though, to be honest.
It does, but in an
It
entertaining way.
It works as a soundtrack,
Yeah.
and it would be interesting to see what it's like seeing the visuals, because then all the desert plains that you're imagining listening to it just become a kind of an unearthly child sort of
Yeah.
soundstage.
It's entirely studio bound,
Yeah.
isn't it? And a fair amount of it takes place outdoors, doesn't it?
Mm.
So for something that's entirely studio bound, that's taking place on location, probably not going to look as great as we think from the photos, because those photos, a photograph of something doesn't give you really any sense of the depth of it. But to actually see it come to life on a television screen probably really would ram it home how shallow some of those sets are. A bit like in the Aztecs. I think the Aztecs looks, but we'll get there.
Particularly on Blu-ray, shall we say?
Yeah.
Does no favors.
I don't think so. 7th place, 30.8%. And this has gone up 2 places. I was quite surprised putting these votes together that people kept voting this one quite high. And I can sort of see why, but at the same time, I sort of can't. So I throw it to you guys. In 7th place, out of the whole of the William Hartnell era, The War Machines.
It's because it's so different to the rest of the year, isn't it? That kind of stands out in your mind. It's that because it's the change of the show. It's that moment where, to the fan cliche, Hartnell stands up. It's the first time he decides to battle the aliens. So it's kind of the most familiar story of the Hartnell era. Because the Hartnell era is kind of very different to what we think of as Doctor Who. Because
Yeah. It feels like a very early stab at a unit story, and that end of part 3 with Hartnell giving it the big come on and oh fuck it, I'll have you. It's lovely. It's so good.
yeah,
It's location. It's lots of locations, which is unusual. I mean, so if you're using the preference revealer and you happen to be a fan of going outdoors, then
I won't have that kind of talk. Going outdoors.
So actually, you weren't seeing to the dog when you disappeared just now, were you, Matt?
I was getting a Mr. Kipling angel cake.
In 6th place, and I think it's
I got hungry, so I needed like something.
We noticed
sustenance. Yeah,
I have trying to get through JR explaining a joke.
I've made a batch of chocolate chip cookies, but they're not quite. I prefer it when they sort of set a little bit more, so I might put them in the fridge overnight.
I'm going to have to say that I made a joke in our WhatsApp thread earlier that went over the first person to read its head. And because that person gave a straight answer, everybody who came in afterwards, because they were partly responding to that person, entirely missed the joke.
No. I read it and I didn't respond to it, but I believed that what you were saying in the joke was true, because the problem with it being a joke was it wasn't obviously a joke and it wasn't very funny. It wasn't very funny.
I mean,
so I thought
none of the jokes I make are very funny.
You could conceivably think that this rumor that this thing is happening and it is in a particular state, that's sort of believable. We
haven't got time to explain JR's joke because Iain's on a deadline here. He has to be out of here today.
I think fundamentally, if you're going to be so precious that you insist on a joke being funny, you're airbrushing the entire career of Hale and Pace out of history.
And they were in Survival.
And Russell Howard.
In 6th place, and this definitely deserves to be in the top 5, and I am ashamed as a Doctor Who fan that it isn't. On 36.9% of the potential vote, the Daleks.
I think it's not a very good story. It's
a great story.
It's the reason we're all sitting here, though, isn't it?
It is. It's there for the historical significance, but again, it drags horribly.
I don't think it would at an episode a week for 6 weeks in 1964.
Or
maybe not.
Like Ben Cooking.
But who watches it like that?
Well, nobody does, but that's not the story's fault.
Maybe Ben Cook has done this for us. He's pushed it back up into awareness.
He's pushed it out of the top 5. So
shoved it.
Oh, does that mean when we do the second Doctor, the War Games is going to come 6th?
That'd be ridiculous.
And when we do the 4th Doctor, Pyramids of Mars will come 6th.
Yeah, that's
That's possible.
And the Sea Devils. Okay, top 5 in 5th place, and this has moved up a position on 37.9%. I am delighted to say in the top 5, the Romans.
Blimey.
Beautiful.
Well, it's a bit like the War Machines. It does something slightly different, so it actually the Romans stands out a little bit. I mean, I know there are other equivalent comedies, but the Romans is the broadest version and probably the one that's actually funniest.
And
Yeah.
it's one of Hartnell's best performances as well.
And it's not just comedy, but it does the dark stuff and it threads the dark stuff through, unlike the Gunfighters, which kind of, and the Mythmakers as well.
Well,
which
they
kind
do
of,
the same thing. They doing the comedy for 3.5 episodes, and then look, we shouldn't be laughing. It's Blackadder goes fourth.
Yeah.
This is dark.
Whereas
You
the
shouldn't be
Romans
laughing.
has the dark stuff all the way
yeah.
through. So, right, in 4th place on 42.3%, and this won season 1 the first time, and it has come highest in season 1 again. And I just don't think it's all that good, to be honest. I don't think it's not very good, but I think it's overrated. It's the Aztecs.
John Ringham's very good in it, though.
And it feels like the sort of flip side to the Romans, because the Aztecs really is sort of serious all the way through, and they're trying to make a serious point about the effects of time travel, even if it's sort of half baked.
It feels the conception has completely changes after this stuff for time travel. It's a relic almost a season after it's broadcast.
I mean, John Lucarotti seems to me like the kind of dusty old middle-aged man who's spent his entire time locked up in some sort of
jail,
back room in a university somewhere,
podcasting studio,
and then
lived on a houseboat. Was it in Cyprus? I think.
But you know what I mean? But I'm saying it feels like the work of somebody who doesn't understand how history connects with the real world.
Are you saying he's an academic?
No, I'm not, because most academics, the fundamental point of academia is to understand how history connects with the real world and with the modern world. And I'm saying the Aztecs, I mean, it's inherent in that line of the story, but the entire purpose of the story is to prove that history doesn't connect with the real world. That's kind of the point of the story, and I think that's a fundamental flaw in it. And
is. Yeah, I mean, Lucrozia historicals are pretty much the only real ones that do kind of stick to that original educational remit, because they are quite straightforward about what they're doing. You may add the Crusade in there, but that's it. It's Lucrozia and Whitaker.
But again, I think it misunderstands the educational remit, because as Matt kind of brought up, education has to be relevant to the people that you're educating. And the Aztec seems to go out of its way not to be.
It might do, but again, you're looking at the drama, and the drama essentially is against John Ringham providing one of the great early villainous performances in Doctor Who. He's chewing that scenery beautifully.
Oh, yes, but, well...
So maybe that's why it sticks in people's minds to vote.
Yeah, maybe. There are other villainous performances. And we're just about to get to 2 of them. Because in joint second place on 50% of the vote, so only one story managed to sneak above 50%. And, given how far the voting was spread between 29 stories, getting above 50% is quite an achievement, frankly. But the 2 that are on 50%, one of them won its season last time, that's season 3, and the other one won its season last time too, but now is no longer the winner of its season. And that's season 2. The 2 stories are The Daleks' Master Plan and The Time Meddler. So the Daleks' Master Plan... The Daleks' Master Plan was winning this for a long time. Actually, funny enough, The Time Meddler was winning this for ages. Then the Daleks' Master Plan overtook it, and then something else overtook the Daleks' Master Plan as the sort of last sort of few votes came in. So all 3 of these stories at the top were really battling it out, and the one I've not mentioned yet won. But the Daleks' Master Plan, right? I mean, 3/4 of it doesn't even exist. And yet, because it's Doug Camfield and we all know what he's capable of, I think
And
the 3 episodes that do exist and the soundtrack all point to something that was a bit special, really, don't they?
I like to think it's a vote for the Feast of Stephen.
Well,
I've never been a fan of the Time Meddler. I
No, me
think the
neither.
Time Meddler always strikes me as being two sets and jokes that were done better in the Romans. And the Romans has, the villa, the road, the palace.
Yeah.
It has the sort of the scope, whereas the Time Meddler, I always think of it just as being a cliff and then a hut at the top of or a church at the top of a cliff, and that's it.
I kind
But
of
Peter
like that, though.
Butterworth.
Yeah. I love the fact that it evokes a particular place. So I think that the fact that it does works for me.
It's the first time you're kind of messing with history, isn't it? It has the anachronisms quite deliberately in there. I think that reworks the contrast, particularly in this era.
And
Well,
that
and-
cliffhanger is at the end of part 2 where they go inside the church altar and it's another TARDIS.
Oh, yeah.
Part three.
That
Yeah.
part 3. That is the original, the OG bacon dropping moment
Yeah.
of the
It's
Heart and
a
Hole.
no,
TARDIS.
the original
The bug's
bacon
got a
dropping moment.
TARDIS.
The original bacon dropping moment is the cliffhanger to part 1 of this very story, where they are in medieval times. They walk into a church and find a record player.
I mean, I'll take a TARDIS over a record player any day, but I'm
Yeah.
a spectacle whore.
Well, you didn't have the TARDIS at the time of the record
Bacon
player.
dropping.
Well, I don't know where who.
When
Drop-
was that an
You,
expression?
you drop your bacon sandwich. It was an expression in the 90s. You were probably
Oh, okay.
busy indoors.
In academia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Studying in the 1990s.
Yes. So was I, but I was studying bacon sandwiches.
I was
Sadly,
studying-
as you can tell.
I was studying the time period that the Time Meddler was set in. Yeah.
But I also think the sort of central villainous performance. I mean, these 2 stories both have great central villainous performances, but I think there's just something about Peter Butterworth where he's not playing a villain; he's playing a carry-on character who just happens to be the villain of the story.
It's a force of chaos, isn't it? He's nothing. He's not evil. It's great.
But
And
the
it's
good thing
kind of
Dalek's
suits Hartnell's Doctor.
Good thing
because
about
he's
Dalek's
chaos
master
too.
plan is you get Peter Butterworth in it as well. So you
Well,
get
that
the
is
2
true.
performances
Yeah.
in one.
Double Butterworth.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, we've discovered the secret of Doctor Who. People like a bit of Butterworth.
Yeah.
Well, we've discovered the
Butterworth
reason
to your
why.
bacon sandwich.
Get
Now I've got
the
to-
eye on the case.
The monk always
It's,
rings twice.
Well, I mean, so the 2 stories that were joint 16th had a connection in that they both sort of did historicals, but through the sort of prism of historical fiction and not very serious historical fiction. And so these 2 have got the connection of being both Peter Butterworth stories. Well, so there's something going on there. So, I mean, we
Dennis
all.
Spooner. Dennis Spooner. It's his secret.
Well, absolutely. I guess I love Dennis Spooner as the first Doctor writer.
Seconded.
In first place, though, on 51.5%, and up from second place in its season to take the crown this time around. So this really was quite a surprising winner, because you would have thought that one of the stories that won one of the seasons would have won the overall thing. But no, I mean, we've all worked out what it is, haven't we? But
Yes.
just in case we haven't, the Dalek invasion of Earth, which, okay, I can see why it's not necessarily the story that you would think would come first, but I just think as an achievement, it is on 60 as live television. This is an astonishing 6 episodes of Doctor Who, really. And I think, and we all say, oh, the reason we're here is an unearthly child, the Daleks. I think the actual reason we're here is the Dalek invasion of Earth. The idea of bringing the Daleks back as an ostentatious, as opposed to accidental villain, as an invading force, and essentially in an historical story, because this is, to all intents and purposes, World War II, if the Nazis had won the Battle of Britain and the Nazis had been inside Dalek casings. This is an historical story, but set in the future. I think it ticks so many boxes. I think it's just one of the greats of Doctor Who, despite the fact that it is a bit slow compared with the movie. But if we didn't have the movie, we wouldn't be comparing it with the movie. And so we wouldn't all be saying, oh, it's a bit slow compared to the movie. So I don't know. Dalek Invasion of Earth, guys.
series first event story, isn't it? Because it's the one that got the Radio Times cover. It's the one it's deliberately pitched across Christmas. So again, it's that big every Hartnell Christmas has a Dalek story. So they know
I
what they're
think
doing here.
Yeah.
it's one of the first that's got some location stuff as well. So suddenly you're in the real world, and that I
The
think helped
location
hammer
stuff
home the
is
horror of it.
yeah. The location stuff is great as well. That
And
the
and
mines have a scale to them.
the studio recreating the location stuff is pretty good in this as well.
Mm.
So there's an actual feel. You don't feel like you're going from location back into Lime Grove or whatever you do occasionally, but a lot of the time you actually feel like there's a join between the location and the studio.
And when you're in that warehouse in the first episode, you think you're in a warehouse.
Yeah.
You don't realize that that's a studio set because it's seamless, isn't it?
Mm.
And obviously, as the point was made by Mr. Curry Smith in his Target paper newsletter today, it's the first change in the series. It's first kind of indication the series can go on past the original cast.
Mm.
Do you know what? I was listening to, so we've got this podcast feed now where I'm reposting some old Strangers in Space and Blue Box podcasts and the Dr. Robert interviews that I've done in audio form rather than video, just to make them available for people who've struggled to find them on our feed now that we've migrated, because some of those older episodes aren't so easy to get sometimes, depending on where you're listening. And just this morning, I listened to, Matt, your episode, Squaring Sherlock Street, the one where you made the comparison between Doctor Who and Sherlock. And you asked the question, what is Doctor Who's Hound of the Baskervilles moment?
Yeah, that was a good question.
Well, my instant thought listening to it back, having forgotten the discussion we had, was it's the Dalek invasion of Earth. Because that's the first time that Doctor Who, I mean, by the back door, because it can't actually literally do this, but it's the first time where Doctor Who says, can we remake a story? The Daleks, obviously. It wants to do another story with the Daleks. And so it's not a remake in the way that two versions of The Hound of the Baskervilles would be, but to all intents and purposes, it's the first time Doctor Who says, can we repeat ourselves? Yes, we can, and here we go.
But it is repeated because it's the first proper Alien Invades London story. So in a sense, it's where Spearhead from Space comes from. It's where, all of these sort of post-apocalyptic
It's the
London,
first,
London
it's the
falling
first
apart.
time kind of since An Unearthly Child that it's destabilized the modern world because obviously, for plot purposes, they can't put Ian and Barber back in, otherwise they just walk off. But it's a Dalek kind of invading a familiar London. It's the first time the series has gone with that kind of juxtaposition. It's become such a strong part of it. You're right.
Right, for the benefit of anybody who's watching this on video, because obviously I'm going to post this the same evening we're
Ian's about to
recording.
be eaten by his cats. That's
Always.
Yes.
Always.
It's the people watching on video.
Our WhatsApp thread has come alive with the rumor that the Christmas special with presumably Billy Piper as Russell T Davis's Doctor Who finale of finales is going to be delayed till Easter next year rather than appearing at Christmas this year.
Actually, what the rumor suggests, the rumor was expressed as anyone heard anything about Christmas being delayed until Easter, which I think is a little bit.
That's just to do with the fact that Britain's bankrupt. That
Yes.
Rachel Reeves is having to just nudge it back into the different fiscal
Russell
year.
T Davis is rearranging the Judeo-Christian calendar specifically for Doctor
It was
Who.
always the plan.
I think
For 20 centuries we had this.
I think it's Donald Trump who's pushing it back so we can have the midterms next March instead of this November, frankly.
We don't
But, right, we will be back in 4 weeks' time to do the ninth Doctor poll, because what we're going to do is go through the classic Doctors in sequence and the modern Doctors in sequence. And so that means that the next poll we conduct is going to be exactly the same one as we conducted the first time around, seeing as the ninth Doctor's era is confined exclusively to just the one season. So, but it'll be interesting to see if the stories come out in the same order. Spoilers, they have. Right, we'll be back in 4 weeks for that. Until then, I was JR.
I'm on tenterhooks.
I was John.
I was Matt.
And we will speak again soon. Matt, when you say I was Matt or I am Matt, can you maybe, instead of sort of fading in, maybe do the I am bit a bit stronger, because the Zoom doesn't pick up your I am, and basically it just goes that.
I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah, you won't.
I'm just going to grab a glass of Coke. I'll be 2 seconds.
All right.